Let's talk Tanya for the 19th of Shevat. In the last days, we spoke about how we can use our Ava Mesuteres, our hidden love for God, to motivate us to do mitzvahs and to keep us from doing averos, keep us from doing that which is wrong. With this, we understand why the concept of Mesiras Nefesh, the idea of martyrdom, is a very important idea in Judaism. Even though, thankfully, we live in a time where in most countries and in most times, martyrdom is not part of our reality, thank God. But the concept of Mesiras Nefesh, the idea that a Jew theoretically is willing to give up his or her life in order not to be separated from God, is very important. It's important for us to keep in mind, because it is this idea that has the power and the ability to keep us in an area of victory against the animal soul, doing that which is the correct thing to do and abstaining from doing that which is incorrect. The Alter Rebbe explains, based on this, something interesting. The idea of Mesiras Nefesh, the idea of martyrdom, is something which Moshe Rabbeinu, shortly before he passes away, the Jewish people, they're about to go into Israel, and this is in the book of Devarim, the book of Deuteronomy. So Moshe Rabbeinu tells the Jewish people the Shema. And in the Shema, we have Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad, Hear, O Israel, the Lord is our God, the Lord is one, which, by the way, those are the words traditionally that Jewish people had on their lips when they gave up their lives for the sanctity of God. But then the verse continues, V'ahavtas Hashem Elokecha, you should love your God, b'chol levavcha, v'chol nafshecha, with all your heart, with all your soul. What does it mean, all your soul? Even if it requires you giving up your soul, even if it requires of you to give up your life. Now, this is a special message that Moshe was giving the Jewish people as they are entering Israel. Again, Moshe was teaching them the Torah for 40 years. But for 40 years, he did not tell them this. And it seems apparent that this is important for them to know now that they're going into Israel. But the question is, they're going into Israel, and they were assured that they would have victory against the inhabitants of Israel, of Canaan at that time. Mesiras Nefesh, martyrdom, wouldn't be necessary, so why did Moshe find it necessary to tell to the Jewish people at that time? But now we understand that martyrdom as a concept is very important anytime we're struggling in life. For 40 years, the Jewish people were in the desert, they were living a spiritual life, everything was fine. Presumably their struggles against their animal soul were minimal, and therefore it wasn't necessary for Moshe to bring up this idea of martyrdom, of Mesiras Nefesh. Now the Jewish people are going into Israel. Now Moshe says, this is something you need to know about. You're going to need to focus on this concept in order to give you the power to overcome temptation and do which is right and stay away from that which is wrong. With this, we have concluded the long way and the short way, the two strategies that Tanya gives us in order to overcome our animal soul. Why do we need to have two strategies? Why isn't one enough? So on a very simple level, the long way is a more difficult way. And it takes time to develop those emotions, using our mind to create those emotions. So we need to have a short way, more as a stopgap measure, which will take us until we've accomplished the long way, or for certain people, the long way, for whatever reason, can't work. But there's a deeper idea over here also. The short way is important even for a person who has already accomplished the long way. The long way and the short way, each one of them has its own benefit, its own advantage, and each one of them is important for us to incorporate in our lives. The long way, which means using our mind to actually change who we are, change our feelings, become more refined, become more holy, that's obviously very important. Yes, we need to change. We need to become holy. We need to have holy feelings, holy emotions, a relationship with God, an emotional relationship with God. At the same time, however, anything that I create isn't intrinsically and inherently me. I created it today. Theoretically, tomorrow, that feeling can go away. I can create another feeling. The advantage of the short way is that I am tapping in to my truest self, the core of my being. I am being consistent with the essence of who I am. And at my essence, I want to connect to God. We still need the long way also, because just being in touch with our core isn't enough. We also need to work on changing and actively refining and sanctifying our conscious self. And that's why both of these ways, the long way and the short way, work together to make the perfect person. With this, we have finished these two paths. Tomorrow, we will be starting chapter 26. Tomorrow, we will start talking about positive and negative emotions. What's the connection? between what we've been talking about up until now and positive and negative emotions. For that, we'll have to talk Tanya tomorrow.